was a movie, and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high-conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I am your host. I am sincerely appreciative that you are here again this week, or if this is your first episode that you're tuning into, welcome. We've got an excellent topic this week. It is how to tell your child or children that you're dating again after divorce. Now, hopefully you've taken the time and have done the work to get yourself into a position mentally, emotionally, as well as your environment around you to allow you to start doing this again. I think that most people who get divorced at some point or another begin to want or think that they would like to enter into enter into some sort of relationship with the opposite sex again. And I think that I saw a study at some point that for women that were divorced or divorcing in the year subsequent to their divorce, something like 70% had contemplated or put serious consideration into that. I don't know if they've done one on men. I don't know if they get men to answer that question or breach that topic with men. But the point being is that, we are designed to be in relation with one another. And so it is pretty common if that is a thought that is going through your mind during a divorce even, but most definitely after divorce, and you're wanting to venture into that again. Now, if you have kids, that changes the whole dynamic. It's going to be a whole new ballgame compared to what it was like when we were dating prior to children and to our previous or to our marriage, etc. And so this is we're basically just we're going to list some ways in which you can tell your children that you're going to start dating again, and also help to reassure them at the same time, because they're going to be on this journey with you. And if any of you are listening that have already started on this journey, then you know that it has an impact on them, and we want to be cognizant of that, and also know that it's not going to that dynamic is not going to rule our world. We're still needing to have our lives and have romantic relations and be able to find somebody. And if it's ultimately your goal to get remarried again, then that is absolutely appropriate as well. So let's dive into it. The first way and the first tip that I'll say is that you need to adjust the conversation according to your child's age. And so depending on if you have one child or multiple children, this might take multiple conversations. If you have younger and older children, then you may need to have one conversation with the younger children and one with the older children. If they are younger, it's the conversation is probably going to be a little bit different. They might not have a very good understanding or working knowledge of what dating is or what dating means, obviously, because they're younger, and typically under 10 years old will pretty much be the age range in which they probably won't be. And so talking with them about having a new friend, or that you're making friends is a maybe a more appropriate in easier way for them to know and understand what it is you're doing. Now, if your children are older, over 10, or teens like I have, they're going to have an understanding of what a boyfriend or a girlfriend is, or a partner. So being able to use those words are appropriate as well. So, with an 8 or 10-year-old, it might be sounding like something like, Daddy or Mommy's new friend is coming over tonight for dinner, or we're going to meet Mommy's friend at the park today. Just using language like that. If it's a 15-year-old, then it could be something around, hey, I just want to let you know that I've gotten back into the dating scene a little bit, and I might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend here in the near future, but I'm being very intentional about what I'm doing. Just be very clear about what it is that you are doing, particularly with the older children, because it is an opportunity for you to be able to demonstrate and model for them appropriate behavior, and also open up those conversations. That's been one of the things that I've attempted to do with my daughters, is use it as an opportunity to talk with them and facilitate a conversation around what dating should and should not look like. So I do try to share what is appropriate details about the dates of picking up, how I orchestrate, how I might plan something. So as a man, I like to plan the dates. I like to be assertive in planning dates, and asking somebody out, and in creating the evening or date, whatever it might be, and facilitating all of that. So I might chat with my daughters about that in a little bit of detail, about what I planned and how it went off, and what we did and what we talked about, and some things like that, so that it helps to give them an idea of what's going on. Obviously, younger kids, you might just share something about what you did as well, just to let them know also that you do have a life outside of when they don't see you, when they go to your ex's house, because oftentimes when they're younger, obviously they don't have the same time awareness of what's going on or what your life is like, et cetera. So being able to share some of that with them, I feel, is helpful too. Second tip is to start the conversation with a question. And this could be, especially with the older kids, something like, how would you feel if I started dating again? And this just kind of opens up the conversation in learning and understanding how they are going to react, or how they're feeling about the situation, so that you can gauge immediately how to maneuver this conversation for it to be a positive and a beneficial for everybody. So for younger ones, it might not be about that, or you could even ask them that, but they might not really even know that. But you can test the waters with them a little bit. Now, this isn't to say that if they and there's a high probability and likelihood that they might react in a sad way, or a confused or an angry way about this, because they're still going through and processing everything that they're going through and processing through this through the divorce as well. So just be aware that that's okay for them to have their feelings and emotions about that. And we're going to talk about that in another step here, but also understand that this is not to gauge where they're at, so that then you have to kowtow to what those feelings are, and just do the guilt thing, right? You feel guilty that they're upset about something because because of the relationship with your ex ending. So just know that this isn't to do that. It's just to gauge where they're at so that you just know how to maneuver the conversation and what direction to take it. Also, the next thing is to be very clear that your boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, whatever word you're gonna use for them, is not a replacement for your ex. Now, this is incredibly difficult, or it's incredibly important to do, because our children take part of their identity from each parent. And so having them know and understand that there's always going to be that parent in their lives, that there's not ever going to be a replacement for their mommy or for their daddy, that's going to be really, really important. And so you can say, so for little kids, you could say something like, it might be weird, but your daddy's always going to be your daddy. And my friend Richard can be your friend, or whatever. My friend Sally or whomever is going to be, can be your friend. If they're a little bit older, you can say something like, you might see so-and-so and I together, but you don't need to call her mom, or you don't need to call her dad. That's, you just need to, your mom is still going to be your mom, or your dad is still going to be your dad. That so-and-so is not going to replace them. So just, again, the point being is make it very, very clear, because just like we're confused through this process and we don't really understand or know how to go through and do this, which is why I'm telling you, because I've muddled through this multiple times now and have probably gotten better at handling it, but not that much better. They're going to be going through confusion and lack of understanding and not knowing either. And they're going to have all these emotions coming up. So trying to be clear about that specific point is really incredibly important, that nobody is going to be replacing their mother or their father. The next one is ask them how they're going to feel. And so this goes along with opening the conversation with a question about, and maybe the question is, how do you feel about me starting to date again? But asking them and then listening to how they're going to feel. And it could be, how do you feel about this? Or what's going through your head? And that's incredibly important. Again, also just to get some feedback. This is to just acknowledge what it is that they're feeling. This is not to change your mind about dating, especially if they get upset. It is okay for you to date. It is entirely appropriate for you to date and to have a life outside of children, to be having relationships and romantic relationships. So listening and understanding their feelings is very important, but it's not to make you feel guilty, and it's not for you to have to change and manipulate your life in order to control, if you will, in some sense, or mitigate the feelings of your children. Now, obviously, you want to be you want to be aware of that. And you want to be sensitive to that, but you're not asking and you're not having them describe it to you in order to have to manipulate it in any way. So ask them how they feel, and then Then the next part of that is address any concerns that they might have. You can most definitely let them know that there's still a priority in your life, that because you're making new friends, or because you're going out on dates, or because you might have a girlfriend or boyfriend, that there's still a priority in your life. So again, the kids might, because they haven't gone through this, have concerns, might have questions, might not know. And then I'm a product of divorce, so I know that I had a lot of things in my head going around that I didn't know or wasn't aware of. And so if you're able to create that space for them and facilitate a conversation, it can go a long way in them not making up things in their head that are going to maybe make them anxious or upset or disconcerted or whatever it is. And so they might be thinking something, or they might ask, is your new friend going to be living with us? And then that gives you the opportunity to say, no, not for a while, or maybe never. But if it did happen, we're going to do this in an intentional way, and there will be a time that I'll introduce you, et cetera. You'd be able to give them an understanding of kind of the process. And hopefully, and this is something we'll talk about maybe on another episode, but you've also heard us talk about, or you've heard me talk about it in previous episodes, is being very intentional around what you're doing in your dating and how you're doing it. So if you are doing it, if you are being very intentional, you'll be able to say to them, well, so this is kind of the process. And so that's something that I've done with my daughters, is be able to say, okay, I'm dating intentionally. My intentions for dating are this. And so because of that, this is the process that I go through in dating. And this is, I will let you know where we're at along the way. And before I introduce you, you're going to know that I've dated this person for a certain period of time. I know what their values are, et cetera. And then I know that this is going to be a long-term relationship. And so only at that time will I introduce you, because one thing you don't want to be doing is you just don't want to have a myriad of people in and out of their lives, really at any age at all. It's going to impact them differently if they're younger, or if they're older, but either way, it's going to have some significant impacts on them if you do that. And so just make sure that, you're conscientious about that. And if you can just realize, again, that as uncertain as you are about all of it, they're equally as uncertain about all of it and not quite understanding what's going on. So keep the lines of communication open. Keep that space open for them to have conversation. Number 6 would be give your child some time to adjust. Now, this goes along the lines with what I was saying in the intro, which is hopefully you've taken the time to do your work that you need to do in order to start a relationship. But also with your kids, give them the time to know and understand and do the work that they need to. And it's probably less around work because they're not doing it consciously, but they're just going to need a little time to be comfortable with and accepting of the fact that you're dating. And then if you are introducing somebody to them, that they have some time to start to get comfortable with that person. So just give them a little bit of time to adjust. And the next point with that is check in with them often. Again, this is creating that space that allows them to be able to communicate with you about what they're feeling and what's going on. You can, maybe if they're younger, and I started this a long time ago. We did and actually I just re-implemented this again with my daughters who are now teens, is that we did a weekly feelings check-in just to talk about what they're feeling. And if you want to do it specifically around this topic, you can do that. And you can just ask something around, how do you feel after meeting so-and-so? Or do you have any other thoughts? Do you have any further thoughts about what we discussed the other day? Or what are you thinking about so-and-so after spending some time with them? Or what do you think, or how do you feel about them? Or any kind of question that would just prompt them to start sharing about them. And again, you can be specific about it because that's going to help with conversations, right? Like, and we've talked about this before on the show, which is asking questions that are yes or no questions. We'll just get a yes or no answer. So, or just questions about how, for instance, I used the one, how was your day? Fine. Okay, great. So asking something more specific about your day, like how was, what was the best class that you studied today? Or what was the one thing that you learned today that was the most interesting? That's an example for when you pick up your kids, and that I use when I pick up my kids. But for this particular, you could ask something specifically about the person. Is what is one thing that you really liked about them after meeting them, or what is one thing that you didn't like about them? So it just, again, prompts conversation and helps open up those lines of communication that you can have with your children about your friend or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whomever you're starting to date. Okay, the next tip is to pick your partners carefully. Now, I wish I didn't have to say this. It seems to be as ridiculous to say as adjusting your conversation according to your child's age, but I cannot tell you. And look, I've been guilty of this at times as well. Is you got to pick your partners carefully, and absolutely, positively, it will help if you have intentions around what you're doing out in dating. And when I say having intentions, that means, what are you doing? Are you dating just to get back into the dating world to see what it's like and to just have, maybe you're just needing some attention from the opposite sex? That's perfectly okay. Just be open about that in general to yourself. Be honest with yourself about it. Be honest with whomever you're meeting, and be honest with your kids about it as well. But be very careful who you're picking when you do decide to really start to spend time with those people, because dating with children is a little bit different than dating, obviously, when you are single. And there are a myriad of risks, and I'm not going to go into that because I think that's a whole episode in and of itself that I can talk about another time. But there are a myriad of risks on both sides of the coin with men and women, and having them involved in your life, but also the impact that they have on children. So make sure that you are intentional about what you're doing and communicate that across the board. And if you are, your intention is to have somebody that is involved in your life, that you're spending a good amount of time with, and that you do want to impact your children with. If you don't think that you'd like them to meet your children, then it's probably, and I'm just getting, this is just a time-saving tip. If you don't think that you'd like them to meet your children, just move on, because it's never going to change. You're never going to start to feel that again. And maybe it's because they're just not geared towards, and not the person for you to introduce to your kids. So make sure you're having your intentions. Are you dating just to start getting some attention, starting to feel good, starting to get back in the game? Are you dating just to meet people and have companionship? Are you just looking for sex? Maybe that's all it is. Or do you want to find a partner, get married again? What is your intention? Set that up front, and make sure that you're picking carefully your partners based upon what your intentions are. Okay, the next tip is only introduce your children to the partners that you're 100% sure about. So I just alluded to that. And then this goes back to, it's hard for your kids to meet multiple partners, multiple boyfriends or girlfriends that you meet and that you talk to and have them in your lives, because for different ages are going to have different attachments to them. And so, they might get attached if they have kids, or you're dating and you have all kids together. Then they might be thinking or wondering if they're going to have a new brother or a sister. They might get attached and become friends, and that becomes different, or becomes difficult to break off and separate if there's then still friends. And so just make sure that you are 100% sure that you are going to have this person in your life for a good period of time before you introduce them. It just is, and it's just incredibly confusing, especially for the little kids, if they have people coming in and out of their lives. Number 10 is to list your partner's positive qualities. And now this can be a little bit different, again, depending upon the age of your children, but this kind of helps as a primer in introducing or helping your kids to get to know who it is your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your partner is. And so that is, that could be as simple for younger kids as, this person likes lots of magic, or he's really silly, or she's really silly, or something like that. Just something that is a positive that you've found that you like about this person, that they might be inclined to think is interesting also. And also, keep in the back of your mind, our kids want us to be happy. They want us they want to see us with somebody that's making us happy. And if we're finding people that we enjoy being with, and that we like and we we appreciate them and we want to spend time with them, and so much so that we want our kids to be with them as well, then our kids are going to be happy about that. So sharing that stuff with them, and maybe the older kids, it's talking about who they are. I think you two will get along, or I think that you guys have this in common, or something else, something that just is just a little bit of a primer that kind of takes the mystery away from who it is that you might be dating. And this could be again, one of those conversations that you have during the time that you're dating before you introduce them. I try to talk about who it is that I've been on a date with, and maybe share a little bit about them and talk about them, especially if it's somebody I've been on multiple dates with that I'm really looking at potentially asking to be in a committed relationship with, to see if it's potentially somebody that is, my intention is to get married again. So it's somebody that it could be a long-term relationship that results in marriage. So it's good to be able to share those things about the person, and it kind of takes some of that mystery away, and also helps again to open up and facilitate that conversation with my daughters about the dating and what it is. And then it also helps me talk about what I'm looking for and what I like about people, or what I like about women that I date, and kind of my values that I have, or that our family has, and that we're looking for somebody that would potentially be integrated into our family and blended into our family. And so again, those are just really, really good opportunities for conversation, and it helps them learn as well. And the last one is introduce your partner to your child in small doses. And this kind of gets into the technicalities of then how to really do it, and what we're like we were talking about before, the language around doing that. But this can be very non-confrontational. It can be very stress-free, and it can be just very, very casual. It could be a meeting at a park. It could be maybe dinner out somewhere. It could be at church. Somebody you could meet. I know that I've done this before, and have introduced to somebody at church, and they've seen the girls at church and talked at church, and then after a while, and this was particularly true after when they were much younger, and then after they saw them for a while, and then they were around more often, and then let the girls know that this is somebody that's going to be around more often. It's my friend, et cetera, et cetera. So, this, and the other thing that this does is it really helps them to adjust to getting to know them. Now, obviously that's going to be a lot different if they're older, and if you have teens like I do, that process is going to be potentially different. So looking for different and maybe even creative ways to be able to do that with teens. And I can't really say that I've got any brilliant creative ways for you right now, because I'm in the midst of this, trying to work that and figure it out. But if I come up with some, maybe I'll do a whole episode on that, is how to date after divorce with teens as opposed to just children, because that's a whole different ballgame. And maybe we need to separate some of this with age appropriate conversations as well for you all. But anyway, you kind of get the point here. And those are 11 tips. I think that's what we had here. Yep. 11 ways in which you can tell your kiddos that you're dating again, and also help to reassure them at the same time. So again, I hope that you've done the work, and if you're thinking about doing that, or you are back in that game, congratulations. You deserve to be able to find some joy in your life in dating again. Just because one relationship didn't work out, one marriage didn't work out, I know it's a big deal, and it's not to diminish it at all. But sometimes when we do something the first time, it doesn't work out, right? When we do something the first time, oftentimes we're very poor at it, and that goes for marriage as well. As much as we may have thought we were prepared and we worked very hard and had every intention of being successful at it, it didn't work out. But that doesn't mean that you can't be successful at it a second time after practicing again and again. So Thank you for listening this week. I sincerely appreciate it. Again, have a terrific week, and I will talk to you next week. God bless. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.
Of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?